Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode to the road to 150. We have to start giving these names, so I'm just going to just call this 6-6, just June 6th, road to 150. Today, we'll be doing two drafts. So stick around. If you missed the first one, we'll do a second. Hopefully, you can chime in and hang out with us for the rest of the night, all right? So one of the rare times we get to do double drafts. We're going to be versing each other in both of those drafts. And I may or may not update everyone on my Michael Thomas exposures after my Michael Thomas news. So, other than that, Hope, please hit the intro, please. Well, guys, as said before, two drafts today. You know who we are. If you don't, great. That means you're new to the channel. I'm so excited for you. So, like, subscribe, turn that notification on, all that little fun jazz. And to get it kicked off, I am Davis Peng, writer for Fantasy Six Pack and Stochastic. And with me, the homie, the ever so dope, Hope. Hope, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Davis. It's been a long day for me personally, but it's been awesome. Doing pretty good. Excited to get these drafts. It's gonna be fun doing two. We haven't done two in a while on the same stream. So I'm excited to get into it. We got a couple of things to talk about off the top of the show. So it should be a good one.
So rather than kind of dragging this on a little bit, we understand two drafts is basically an hour, hour and a half of time. We're just gonna hop straight into it. Hope, let me know when you're ready.
Yep. All right. Hopping in now.
Bump, bump, bump.
3 more.
4 more. Someone left.
Oh, I'm filled.
Oh no, am I late?
Oh, no. Nope, we're both in here. You're the 2, okay. I'm the 6. Look at you, 102. Let's get that.
I don't believe it. I'm still lagging. It says that it still says 8 people. Oh, there we go. What? I have to draft behind Crab Apple? Oh no. I got Vapor up in here. We got Paul. Better Call Paul, I like to call him. And then obviously yourself at the 106, which is pretty good. We got the Queen of Dragons, Khaleesi.
We dodged some badges, but got a fun group. What's up, Paul?
A couple. But it's like the badge people I don't want to see, Like I don't want to see Paul in here like sucking up all the good value and just being great. Sorry, Steph, that you didn't make this one, but we are gonna do a second one. Hopefully, you can stay past curfew. If not, that's okay.
Overflow. Andrew's in the overflow.
I'm sorry, Andrew. It's painful.
I was actually surprised we both got in.
Yeah, well, you never know these days. Who knows?
So speaking of the puppy 2, how have you been firing? How many you're at? Are you planning to max? Like, what are you thinking on the puppy 2 contest?
So I do have plans to max. I'm so behind. Like, I'll be honest with you, I'm like mega behind right now. I have probably 30. And it's gotten to the point that I've been drafting at work, and my boss knows, and he's laughing because he's like, you know what? Get your 150. Go do it. And then, so, shout out to the boss. Cool. He's super cool about it. I'm lagging a little bit, by the way, so I already queued it in. But so he's been making fun of me these last few days, watching me just try to do 2 to 3 drafts in the middle of my office day. And then when I have people like ask me for help, I'm always like, 1 second.
I gotta draft Michael Thomas again.
I gotta draft like James Conner. Like I actually got I had a robust RB team, and I accidentally grabbed Zach Charbonnet because it like over into me. And I was so triggered. I was like helping somebody in the building, and I was like so mad about it. I was like, I got Zach Charbonnet on this team that doesn't need Zach Charbonnet. But yes, the goal's hit 150. I'm at 30 right now. I'm gonna try to plug in hard this tonight. I'm probably gonna have 40 to 50 by the end of the night, and then I'm probably gonna have another 150 by Friday to Saturday. It's going to happen. You?
I'm at 35. I'm sitting at 35. Probably I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get to 50 by the end of tonight. Probably not. But I'll try and do a couple after the stream, probably. We'll see what we do from there. Let's see.
Stephanie says this is the slowest draft. I'm sorry. I lagged. I don't know why everybody else is taking forever though.
This is a tough spot here. How much Kelsey have you taken? You can see my percentage,
I've
and
had
these
one.
percentages are updated for Puppy 2.
I think you
Um,
need to make a pick first because you're about
I'm
to
gonna
take
make a
time out.
pick, but
Oh, okay. I just remember what happened with Dak Prescott last week. I'm just heard out there. I'm just here to help you out. Okay.
fair. Hey, we're competing in this. I wouldn't want to help me out too much.
I like friend
Um,
competition.
but
I'm all
yeah,
for it.
Kelsey's been someone I've just been kind of weary of, right? Like with that position, if it's such like a it's a tough position because if he doesn't do what he did last year, he's gonna come so much farther down to the field. Oh my gosh, we have a Mahomes 108 going after the Kelsey here. This is an interesting room to start, but yeah, I don't know. It's just not a pick I'm into as of right now. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I still I don't want zero Kelsey though. That's where I'm at on it.
I, I took Kelsey, my first Kelsey, and out of like 300 drafts, I took my first one, maybe second one, just yesterday, and I posted the team. Got him at like the a 10 or 11 or something, and I picked up Adams on the back half, which felt gross. But it's where he kind of belongs, right? You even without the Hopkins news, I get that he's a mismatch, and that's what everyone argues about. He's like he's a 103, 104, 105. He's a mismatch. He dominates the position, and it's true. He really does dominate that position. But does his, let's say 200 points matter that many spots over like 130 from three different guys or 150 from three different guys that you could probably grab at pick 14 to 18? I
Yeah.
can't get 150 points in the position from grabbing three dead receivers, but I can get that from three dead tight ends. So I have a hard time understanding why people take him so early at the 101s and 104. I joked about it today that like, I miss the days that people would take Travis Kelsey over Cooper Cup.
Right.
I really do. But you're
Yes.
in one spot. It may be a flex. I do vouch for tight end flex. I think tight end flex is amazing at times. But most people aren't drafting Kelsey like that. You don't get Kelsey into, Dalton Schultz. You get Kelsey into, Noah Fant or or Isaiah Likely, some like really dead player. So I don't know. I'm not too stoked on it.
I think that's fair. It's a tough click because there's the age concerns are always going to be there with him as well. Obviously, he just did it last year. He just performed. It's not like, it was 2 years ago and he was injured. We just saw it. And so it's something like that. Again, I'm not fading him. I know we talked about this earlier when we started streaming about how like the super elite guys who can really separate, like the true difference makers, I don't mind being like a year too late on them, right?
Yeah.
Like still betting on those guys who with that insane ceiling. It's just a bet I'm willing to make. Now I've lowered my percentage. Last year, I had like 20% Kelsey. It was a
I mean,
smash.
got to
It's
the
a reason.
finals too.
Yeah, I got into the
Remember.
finals. But this year it's a tougher click with what goes around him. I'm definitely taking the top. This is the top four in the order I'm taking. Well, I have Cooper Cup and Tyreek Hill flipped, but that's my top four in these drafts at the moment.
Yeah, wide receiver is so priced up right now. We know it is. We know we're overspending. I think anyone who's telling you otherwise is like full of hopium.
Yeah.
We are clearly overspending for this position. But that being said, that's okay. Like it's okay to have that because that's just kind of what the market is.
Yeah, you
It's not
have
like
to.
it's not like I can pick up, somebody in round 15 and be like, oh, Van Jefferson is like just as good as getting Chris Godwin. Like like it's not the same. It's not remotely the same, and you're filling out much more roles. Therefore, it's a lot harder. You have to play with the market.
Right.
So I have a really hard time taking that Kelsey pick. You take a Kelsey pick, you can't take elite quarterbacks generally either. I've seen Mahomes Kelsey teams, and I usually see how they turn out. It's like good enough, but it's not too amazing.
Yeah, it's tough. I find myself if I do a Kelsey Mahomes start, I'm doing a zero RB team with that team because you can get
Almost
on
automatic.
underdog. You're going to get so far behind at wide receiver with them pushed up. You have to like to me. I don't even think you can deviate for like an Aaron Jones. Like that's almost still too pricey. A Kenneth Walker. Like to me, you have to wait for that tier. Maybe you get the Dobbins first pick there. Let's see here.
Yeah.
Man, am I just gonna keep clicking these receivers?
So like from a half PPR format, this is what
No,
Kelsey did the
I'm doing
last
Andrews actually.
4 years. 205 points, played every game. 260 points, 216 points. Once again, played every game but one. and then 261. Amazing set of points for that one position. But if, like I said, if I can grab, and we've done the math for this, you can grab Dawson Knox and two friends, and you can get 150. And these are guys, like I said, 17 to 18. I don't think you can make that up enough times on
So
wide
I
receiver.
agree. I've been meaning to ask you this because I know elite tight end hasn't always been your favorite,
And that's not
but
true. It depends on the year.
it
I always
depends on the
literally.
year. But even last year, right? Obviously Kelsey smashed, but besides Kelsey, like every winning team almost in like most contests last year had an elite tight end. Like it's just still such a difference maker. The drafters champion had an elite tight end. Pat Crane's team obviously had an elite tight end. The DK winner had an elite tight end. Like those guys just make such a big difference in those playoff weeks that it's why I'm so in on elite tight end every year personally, just because
But
they can separate you so much.
so drafters is a totally different contest, and I think in that regard that makes a ton of sense. But if you're talking about like Pat's team, who was his tight end again?
Kittle.
Yeah, so it was a guy 40,
And I'm pretty sure it was
50
Kittle
picks
on
later.
all of these teams.
Yeah, so it was like
And the
40
regular season on
yeah.
Underdog, the high scoring regular season team had an elite tight end as well.
So Kittle's a guy I liked overall because he's 40 to 50 picks later, right? Like there's a difference between elite tight end with Mark Andrews last year at round 2. So his ADP was like pick 18 last year, pick 20. And those teams got completely burned. Like I mean, for all the teams that you could point to, Kelsey, like you could point to Andrews or Waller the last 2 years and go, like that didn't really work out. Like so, I took a ton of Mark Andrews and BBM2. I was like, this guy's going in the 6th. You know, people got burned in BBM1 or something. They got like, and they were just like, oh my god, this guy's like not too great. I took a bunch of like Mark Andrews and BBM2. I was all about it. I was like, this guy's going around 6, pick 60, pick 70. Great, moving on. The year before, Darren Waller, round 6, round 7 in BBM1. Sign me up all freaking day. BBM3, TJ Hawkinson, Dallas Goddard. People that are like viable for position leading versus grabbing guys that are like at peak. And I think that's a huge difference. Like when you take Kelsey, especially in this specific year, I think last year you can make a better argument because he was going into round 2, right? You could argue that nothing is priced up. Quarterbacks are at round 6, round 7. You had Jalen Hurts, you had Justin Herbert, all these guys that you could buy. You had Tom Brady at round 9, Matthew Stafford around 10. Like you had a lot of value. But now that everything is being shoved up and crunched, I don't think you have the ability to. So
I think that's fair. Like I said,
so Goddard all day. Waller, if you're into Waller, hey, have at it. Like those guys, I think are like the elite guys I'm willing to spend on. But I think you're so peaked if you're taking Andrews at like 25 these days, or Kelsey at 4. Like it's really hard.
See, I'm still super in on the Andrews pick. Like I think he can still separate that much. I'm gonna hurt you here.
That's not cool, man. Why would you do that? You should just let me have him. He's 4. He's so many. He's already 4 picks down. It makes sense. But like I said, I don't mind a lot of the picks. I think Andrew's been going at that 37 right now. I've seen him go 36, 37. Like I'd be all fine for that. But like Andrews at 20 last year was just one of those like guys, like you guys are just chasing. Like what are we doing right now? Why are we chasing this player to the other side?
I mean, there's a lot of context around Andrew's season last year as well, though.
All his years were pretty good though, when he was the only option for his team.
I think this is super sharp, and like it feels like to me this year, and I don't want to like overstep, but it's like if you know how to play the best ball and you understand the game, like you're in on Knox. It almost feels like that's kind of like a take. Like smart people are in on Knox. It's just is what it is. Like, and yeah, Knox is almost an auto click for me as well. And you know, I'm excited to see what they do with Kincaid. Like he's a fun player. But we just, for how much Knox is going to be out there and his touchdown upside, like, yeah, I mean, Vapor saying he got him at the 17-12. I shared that one team. I got him at the 18-4.
God.
Like, people, I think it's gone way too far on Knox. And I think most people know that at this point. What do you think on this take? Andrew has, you'd rather take Njoku over Kittle. I mean, I'm super in on Njoku, so I love the discount. Because I think he's a guy who can make a leap in that tier.
I think I'd rather take Kittle. I mean, if you're talking about like straight out as player, even with the value, I
Yeah.
think I'd rather have Kittle. But I want Kittle like at a certain range. I want Kittle if I'm three, what like one RB, two RB, three receivers already, and I'm getting kind of a slide. Like I'll definitely take some Kittle. If I'm like 2, 3, 1, and Kittle's my one, I'm stoked. Like sign me up every day of the week for it. If I'm on the other side where I'm 2, 2, and I have to grab Kittle and there's other values on board. I mean, I as much as I don't take Kittle, I've said on stream like, yeah, we should grab him here because this is like the best play we can technically make. Njoku, I still think we have to see what's coming up because Kittle, right? Like, so Njoku, as much as like everybody else likes him, his competition is weird. It's Cooper, possibly Hopkins in the future, Elijah Moore, DPJ, Nick Chubb, and like Deshaun Watson, who hasn't really been a tight end guy. I can't think of a Deshaun Watson tight end like ever, and that's what kind of scares me a little bit. So I wouldn't categorize him in that same tier. And
Yeah.
Njoku has realistically been good for a full one season, and at the end of that season when Jacoby Brissett left, because as I said, Brissett's into his tight ends. Like I would take Logan Thomas if I knew Brissett was starting, right?
That'd be a
I
tough
would
pick.
probably pull back a little bit if like with Watson because we don't know if Watson is really going to use him. We don't even know like what Watson is at this point. It's a lot of mouths to feed, but I think the pick's fine. I would put him in a triple tight end build though. I would never two tight end him unless I went like
I think you
very
can.
hard Njoku Pat. But I don't know. I think with guys like Dawson Knox like floating out there around 17, like I would just go like Njoku, Higby, Knox, two
Yeah,
like
I mean that's
consistency
super
guy,
easy.
and then two upside TD guys.
I think that's fair. I think you can potentially project Njoku for a big jump forward this year. And the cost difference, like I mean, I'm super in on him. I've got tons of him, but I have tons of Firemouth too. Actually, I need to chill on my Firemouth exposure, and the puppy too. I've got like 33% or something
His
crazy.
ADP has dropped a little bit, and he keeps landing to me when I'm like 135 already, and I'm like, well, this is a time for a tight end.
Well,
I'm at
that
one three
it's just
five.
like
Like this is
to
my
me, like
tight
he's
end.
just the last guy in a tier for me. It's
Yeah,
Njoku, Firemouth, and then after that, it's not the same to me. Like it falls off a lot.
I love Pat F. I thought Pat F was like the guy last year, and he burned me a little bit, but I'm like totally fine with it because like I expected that burn in a way. Like, hey, maybe this offense just isn't good. This O line's a little bit better, and it was like the O line actually was a little bit better last year. Um, and he was a little injured. I think if he wasn't injured and battling those injuries all year, he could have been a little bit better, and I think he would have paid ADP. Like I was sitting on Frymouth Knoxville, like just out there. I'm willing to go back to the well for Frymouth because I think he's just beyond talented at this point. So I'm a little under on him on my exposures, but I've been like jacking him up because he's just following me a lot of times, and on a lot of my picks when we talk about like at least roster construction, which I think in this place we probably should do, is just
Yeah,
about does this team just give me points? Like does this player at this point give me points? Um, I've in the past talked about like a lot of constructions that I don't favor right now. Like robust right now is just so painful. Robust anything I think is really tough. So like robust RB, double elite tight end, double elite
yeah.
quarterback,
Double E tight end is so tough.
like six heavy receiver. I think even five heavy receiver sometimes scares the hell out of me because I'm always like, you took four in your first four picks, and you know like you're usually getting really good guys. Like if I have like JJ into Higgins, Devontae Smith, like I don't know what fourth and fifth receiver or fifth receiver that's gonna trump those three guys consistently. And I've seen people go fifth. And I'm like, well, what does that fifth receiver do besides like ride the bench for half a season? Because it's true, they do sometimes ride the bench.
Yeah,
Um,
they do. The position though is just so volatile.
Yeah, but the
Um,
contribution side from like your
let's
RB
see.
tight end quarterback is like huge there. Like you could get Joe Burrow, which is like the I would say the fall off at quarterback, right? Him and Herbert are like the exact fall off point. The tight end you could
Uh,
get Kittle, you get Hawkinson, you know. So I think that one of those things I talk about is construction of diminishing returns. I don't think people talk about that a lot. And I guess question to the chat if they know what diminishing returns are. I guess it's a nerdy gaming term that we use for like video games.
I
Oh
think that's
shoot,
fair.
that
Where are you
is.
at on Chig? Andrew was asking about Chig because I said that tier ended for me with Firemouth. And Chig goes right there after him.
I, I'm sorry, I'm crying right now because like I could have got pick 71 like Dobbins. I'm like so sad. I'm like that could have been me. That could have been me. Chig is a tough one. Paul knows. Paul knows what diminished returns is because Paul and I play the same video game. um, I'm okay with Chig. I think like I don't like to think that Twitter's always ahead of me on stuff like that, but I do think in this case when I didn't watch a lot of Chig, that I'm gonna just take their word for it. I guess if that makes sense. I especially at ADP 130. Um, it's just like why not? Like I mean like
Yeah,
I don't know like
he's a
is it that
fun
bad?
player. Like, no, it's not that bad. I just think there's a tier break there. I like Chig. I didn't want that to sound or to come off like I don't like Chig. He's fun. I love the big playability he showed last year. And of course the target vacuum that offense has right now with just him and Traylon. And if Tannehill can stay healthy, like he's been fine for fantasy producers.
I got
Um,
five
and,
week 7 buys right now. I'm dying. I'm freaking
and he
dying.
and
Sorry, go
Tannehill's
ahead.
been fine for like getting his guys to produce, and even himself has been a fine fantasy quarterback. Like I think that's kind of a thing in 3 quarterback builds. I actually don't mind rolling a Tannehill. I know they have Levis, and it could be the same like the Mariota Ritter thing from last year. But I think that's a fine build, and yeah, so I do like Chig. It's just not as much as Firemouth
I
for me
mean,
personally.
QB tendency wise, and scheme tendency wise, like it all favors Chig. I get why people don't like Chig because it's like, oh my god, he flashed the pan and like people are taking him in like the 13th, 14th round, and I'm just like, but what player isn't a flash in the pan at that point, right? Like how many Justin Jeffersons are going? Like everybody at that point is a toss up. So I'm never gonna hate on people taking Chig or in that case, like I don't. Most of those rounds are ugly. Like there's not many guys down there who I'm just like are smashes besides maybe what a couple of the Rams players, but maybe
We got
Marvin
Quez
Mims.
Watson going
Yeah, right.
here.
Like what are we doing? Oh god,
Quez Watson just went the 7th round.
nailed it. That's a great pick. I mean,
It's a
Brandon
wide
Cooks went
receiver avalanche. We are in a wide receiver avalanche. Like I noticed that comment earlier. Like
This guy climbed the
I have
summit ahead of time.
I have reached like my last 3 picks on receiver just because I know I'm gonna be fine with the running back that comes back to me. And I took Najee, which I don't usually do. I kind of just took him to snipe you, to be honest.
But he also fell
Um,
like a few picks for you, so it made sense. You already
he fell
had
a few.
two
I'm
really
fine with
receiver.
4th round Najee, and
Yeah.
this is mid 4th. Like you've convinced me enough to like where I want him in my portfolio. Obviously, not nearly as high as you are, but yeah, mid 4th round.
40% in BBM. God, it's not
Mid
that
4th
bad.
round's totally fine. But yeah,
um,
I mean, sometimes
okay.
you have to do this though. You have to play your room. Like if you know the receivers are flying off the board like this, like you have to reach. I think we talked about both of this. Like you said in your high stakes last year, you kept just taking the value,
Yeah, that killed
and,
me.
and I think I did that a lot last year. Like ADP value is super important. We know it's important. Leone's laid out why it's important. But if you get in a room like this, like you have to reach because if not, you're gonna get buried. I'm kind of worried about you getting buried a little bit with receiver.
Yeah, I'm
But
fine.
no, I
I already
mean
have
I
three.
like
I'm good to
I
go.
like all 3 of the ones you've got. I'm just saying I'm a little worried.
Yeah, I mean, so I think when we talked about like, so just to go back a little bit, I don't mind when people take like team 11 right now that person has a buttload of receivers. He went 5 off the bat. It's fine. Like it's totally cool at like the third or the fourth. It's so when I talk about like the avalanche plus diminishing returns, this is when you start to see it. So sometimes when I see people plug in hard, then they have to like scrounge. Like I don't know what feels worse. Those receivers and one running back that could have been useful, like Najee at like 38, or Alexander Madison, Rashad White at the bottom, right? Like we know there's a diminishing return on these guys. We know that your fifth wide receiver, even if he contributes, is what the difference of what 2 to 4 points tops. Right? Like unless he's like Will Fuller or something, like super streaky deep shot guy, which I don't think Jordan Addison is a streaky guy. I doubt Jordan Addison's popping for 200 yards on 4 catches. Keenan Allen's not a streaky guy. So I talk about DR a lot because DR is one of those things that people overdraft when they get to that position. Um, that's why we don't take double elite tight ends because we know the bonus contribution isn't enough. That's why we don't take double elite quarterback because we know that contribution isn't enough. But I feel for wide receiver, we turn blinders on for them. And I get it for like pick 3 through 7, but pick 1 through 5 is just excessive. So I think robust anything is just really bad because the returns just aren't there for you like ever.
I'm not. I don't totally agree with you there. I get your point. Like I would have pivoted off Addison. I don't think I would have done Addison. I would have done a mix in here, Sanders, one of these running backs. So I can agree there. But I mean, I think it's all about how you finish the draft. Like if they just start ripping running backs and they do a big zero RB, the thing is you can't overcommit, right? Like once you've done 5, get better at stopping at 6. Don't, add on a 6th, 7th, 8th receiver when you started 5 straight. I think as long as you do that, it's fine.
The biggest decision right now is Connor to Michael Thomas. This guy's 1-1-4-1. Ugh. You know what?
I almost took James Conner. I was like, you know what? I'm just doing the Davis
He's gonna take
draft.
Connor. Like this person's gonna take Connor. I'd be super surprised he doesn't. That's fine though. I'll just grab whatever came back to me, and I'm okay with it. Yeah, it's just a tough one. Like I said, we just know there is, and we still have, like, and that's the other thing too. So when people do that in the first 4 to 5 rounds, what are you gonna do for the next 13? Is my next question, right? Because you're still gonna want to grab. So I know, like in ship chasing, we're talking a little bit about. Oh wow, okay, cool. I'll just take it. I was gonna take Jameson if he didn't come back to me, but they talked about like taking Mahomes at 3, and then they got Gretsch was talking about like, hey, Joe Burrow was at 6'11", and the guy couldn't grab him, and I'm just sitting there going like, well, that's terrible because that's a terrible feeling. But that's the same way at wide receiver. Like what were like Van Jefferson, Rashid Shaheed went, pick 20, 30 picks later. Are you gonna grab your 9th and 10th receiver? Like like it's at some point you just can't even grab that many.
Well, that's what I was saying. You have to like have a point of where you cut it off.
Yeah, so I'm saying robust everything is just really bad, and I think we turn up blinders for the wide receiver.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like that's why when people go do like I do a lot of bully tight end builds, but whenever I did it, I always did like round 6, round 7, because I just thought they were great values. I was like, I'm gonna grab Hawk and Goddard, and it's gonna be hilarious, right? But I wouldn't go, well, I'm gonna grab Kelsey Andrews and just like run a truck on these guys. Like it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And if somebody wins it, then great. We all look like fools then. But like that's just like ridiculously hard. I guess you could draft like a time traveler, I suppose. Though that's been the rule of thumb. So, anyways, like I said, one of those things I wanted to like just talk about, just like the DR on this, the diminishing returns on all positions. We give crap to the quarterback, running back, and tight end a ton, but no one ever talks about diminishing returns for wide receivers. I know we're juicing them up this year and we're pushing them hard. This guy, especially with 104 like MVS and Quez Watkins, but it's a real thing.
So you're getting a little clown in the chat here.
I didn't have a choice. I wanted Jameson too, but it is what it is.
Well, I think more so the maybe earlier with Akers or Hawkinson, but you're fine.
This team will make it through. All right, I got elites in every route, every position. I got elite tight end, elite quarterback, elite running back, elite wide receiver. I'm fine. My week 7's gonna be so bad though. Like week 7, I'm gonna owe people money. Like I'm gonna be just dead at week 7. I was doing a video for one of our fantasy 6-packs, so we're doing fantasy football, all this little talk, and I posted one of my teams that would have been almost a 1.5% team. It was close. It was like scored like 1760 points. Week 14, it had no quarterback because two were injured and one got benched, or like one was injured, one was on a bye week, and one got benched. It was all 3 crappy scenarios. It was Justin Fields, Marcus Mariota, and Carson Wentz. And then I was like, this team still scored 95 points. Like it was still pretty good. It happens. It's definitely against bye week situations and injuries. We always talk about that. But the team scored 1670 without a quarterback. It could have been a 1685, a 1690 team. That would have been a 1.5% team. Bye weeks are definitely a killer on me though.
Yeah, Weber got a little bit buried here in the wide receiver avalanche because he started hyper fragile. He's been trying to make it up since.
That wasn't hyper fragile. That's robust RB.
Well, yeah,
robust.
And then the second quarterback Vapor. That's where I think I would have just still gone wide receiver there. I think you can make it out of it.
I've been having a hard time doing robust. I did once a day, and that was a 4 RB build, and I cried. I cried for like 5 minutes. Like, oh god, it's so hard. It's so hard. Your team's shaping up pretty well, though. You got a good values there. I'm glad you didn't take my boy James. So over under my James Conner Michael Thomas is 2.5. Hoping I get one per draft. I got 2. So
you're already wrapping up too.
I'm gonna rack it up. Things that occur. People just don't like my players every year. No one ever likes my guys.
Paul. Let's see here.
I mean, Paul's at 2.331.
Yep, I like it. I'm just gonna grab dimes.
Oh, wait, Paul? Sorry, not Paul. Vapor is. Paul's at where you at, Paul? You guys say quarterback at Gino. I want to see where he's at. Are you? So I guess for me, so out of all your builds, I know you're using Draft Caddy and Spike Week. Do you have a favorite build yet? And do you think like does that change for tournaments depending on which tournament you're in? Like if you're in Puppy, if you're in Poms, Poodles, Dalmatians, BBMs, do you have a different build for each one?
Yeah, a 3 RB start is hyper fragile. I knew it. Davis corrected me. I was like, wait, no, it is
No,
hyper
no, it's
fragile.
hyper
If you
fragile.
stop like at 3 or 4
Yeah, if you
running backs.
stop, but
Yeah,
it's
that's what I was saying.
robust for taking 3 right off the bat.
It's the same term though.
Yeah.
Okay. You just caught me off guard when you corrected me. I was like, wait, I'm pretty sure I said that.
Yeah. I always call it robust. I never call it hyper fragile because it's not, to me, it's not like if you end it there, sure. I just assume somebody
I
grabs
think if you in there at 3 or at 4. My favorite build is 2-6-7-3 right now because I'm taking a lot of that in Joku Fryermuth tier. And so I still do the 3 tight end builds. And I'm starting a lot of my teams with 4 or 5 wide receivers in my first 6 picks. First 6 or 7 picks, I would say.
Yeah.
Mixing in, I'm not mixing in many of the elite tight ends, but I'm getting these 2 quarterbacks in this mid tier. I'm usually getting either an anchor running back early and then a second one in this mid tier. If I don't, I'm definitely doing 6. If I do get a second one, I'll stop at 5. But 2-6-7-3 has been my favorite build where you get that anchor running back, then you grab a couple here in this mid tier, and then you get some more late. And then because I'm going to have super strong receivers on all of my builds.
I feel like I'm getting clowned right now. Like this whole like Tyler Boyd in my face right now is just aggravating. Like he's like, I already have 2 Bengals. I'm not grabbing a third. No, I mean the 2-6-7-3 is really strong. I know that we were usually talking about 2-7-7-2 at one point. We're talking about 3-5-7-3s.
I just think you got to be flexible though. Like
yeah.
I may have a favorite build, but I don't come into every, draft looking to complete a certain build or target a certain build. It's just what comes to you.
Yeah. So when it comes to you, it's because of those, and I think that's what I was trying to lead to is.
Gonna make Andrew happy here. Cut it off
like,
with 2 tight ends.
This way to go. But like I said, you said it just perfectly because you already know what you're taking, which leads you into that build. Versus, we were talking, we talked about like roster construction. Some guys will or some people will say, "Oh yeah, I go like 2-5-8-3 or 2-7-7-2." You see this quite a bit, and there's no context to the build. And I know, like, so we were talking about this in our DGen chat. Everyone's like, see, like 2 quarterback builds dominate, and and all the 3 quarterback builds suck. And then when we pulled the numbers, though, I think 444 pulled the numbers. It was like 3-5-7-3 was the 4th highest advancing build and one of the better advancing builds in playoffs. And the reason was not because of the build; it's the theory behind the build, right? It's not about well, if you took 2 quarterbacks, what if your 2 quarterbacks were like Sam Howell, Desmond Ritter?
Right.
Like, are we gonna assume that like advances like really well? No, the 2 quarterback build probably was 2 mid tiers, 1 elite guy, whatever the case might be. So I think when we talk about like number build, it's not about the build; it's a theory behind the build. So
yeah, you've got to be flexible with what the room gives you.
I mean, how many RB0 builds are 4 RB? Right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so we can always lead it to a certain spot where these builds are. So I'm glad you explained that what your 2-6-7-3 is. It's an anchor build. It's a mid quarterbacks. It's not like you were saying, oh yeah, 2-6-7-3, and I just like hodgepodge like 4 running backs.
You've got to be intentional with every build you do. Like it's not that's just what I've landed on. But yeah, this position, 2 of these mid tier QBs where you've got a good investment in the position. I'm passing on the elites a lot, but I'm starting to mix them in as well. But my point is too is like I don't know, like I don't even have like that's my favorite build. But like I said, if I get an elite QB to fall, I'm happy to take them.
So yeah,
like this is
your 2-6-7-3 wasn't like it's an anchor build. It's not the fact of the number, and I think that could be a lot of translation in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I said I know 3 quarterback builds got crapped on. Like everyone's just saying how bad it is, and even this year, like we're not really doing it, but it's probably because of the way we're drafting differently. It's hard. Quarterbacks are expensive.
Dog's anchor empty. This is
my 4th wide receiver.
Terrence, I think, was asking this question more towards me and you, but more towards you. So it's kind of speaking on the Arizona offense with Connor.
I mean,
are you worried? Like, have we seen, You have
I would
examples of
say,
players that have been really good and the offense has been terrible.
I mean, Najee is a good example of that last year, right? He still finishes RB12. I would say, like the entire Falcons was a train wreck. Every year the Titans aren't in the playoffs. Every year the Titans are even in the playoffs. They're kind of a train wreck. The Chicago Bears. I mean, David Montgomery had a lot of good seasons, and even though last year he's injured, it still turned out overall fine. Patriots offense was pretty bad, and Ramondre was still pretty good. So like you could point to a ton of bad teams that just have to use their running back. Hell, even the year the Patriots made the playoffs, they weren't offensively great. They relied on the running backs, Damian Harris and Ramondre, to get them through the
I
doors.
would say though, sometimes the market is wrong, but I mean we're projecting this Cardinals team to potentially be like horrible, not like a 7-8 win team, like a 2-win team. Like I think that'd be good research to do. Yeah, like 2 to 4 win teams and look at their fantasy relevant players to kind of think about um, this Connor situation.
I
From my
think,
experience, there's
yeah.
always ends up being fantasy relevant players on every team. And the price on Connor is not that bad. He can catch dump offs. Um,
I
I'm
mean,
not
are
as in
we?
on as Davis, of course, but that's one
Yeah.
thing I'll say is you just always find it. Like people are
I mean,
gonna
Art made a good point.
contribute.
Deontay Foreman. Hell, even the Panthers' last 3 years were completely just a joke of a team. I mean, it just happens. Like we're talking, like I said, I take him at pick 86. You're not, I know people like to clown the pick, but it's not like I'm grabbing him around 4 or 5. I was not on Connor last year. I hated Connor at his going right of round 3. I was just like, guys, like this doesn't really make any sense. I don't think this team is that good, and I don't think he stays healthy enough to repay back his kind of like his game dividends. But at pick 86, I mean, if that's the killer there, you're gonna hate a lot of other picks. Um, so yeah, Art makes a good point. Like the Panthers is another one. There's a lot of bad teams in the league, and if you look at the Bears' history, every single year they're not a winning team. And how many years have they had pretty usable running backs?
Let's see.
Yeah, but so he says that Foreman was free, but CMC was 101, so like
Yeah, I
102.
mean CMC is different than James Conner though.
But it's a bad team though. It was a team that we weren't projecting to win. I don't think, at least I wasn't.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I don't know.
Until until a team
Just
comes
from
up.
my like history of
Yeah,
playing the game, like there's fantasy relevant players on every team. Ninth round is tough,
exactly.
but it's not the most expensive for a guy that could get all the touches and all the checkdowns. Um, I get the point though. Look, I mean, I don't have nearly as much as you do. Obviously, no one probably does who plays on Underdog, besides someone who did
Probably
one
not.
draft and has
Yeah, he
100%
has
of
just
him.
has one. But like, I just don't think it's the worst pick. I think like taking injury guys, like I think anyone taking Javonte Williams is freaking insane. The fact that his ADP is even in the 90s right now blows my mind. Makes absolutely zero to no sense to me that he is so close to capable players like Cam Akers. I mean, Cam Akers is on a terrible team right now. I mean, but Stafford, who has a back injury, he's going at 77. Got benched
That
twice.
might be a good example of it. Like down the stretch,
Yeah,
their offense. I mean, their offense was decently confident, but with Baker, I mean, I don't know.
they did better with Baker than it was with the other backups.
Oh, for sure.
And he got benched what, 2 times, 1.5, almost got traded, and then ends up popping off, and he's at pick 70. Yeah. So I think it's pretty interesting for that case. It's like, well, I don't think bad teams do nothing. So unless we expect them to say, hey, 53 practice squad members are now boosted to the final roster and they're gonna go for it, then yeah, I would be like, okay, that's just terrible. I mean, but then again, that would be the first time in history that ever occurred. I've never seen a team do it, as far as I know.
Maybe
At
that's
least
fair.
not in the last 15 years.
It's all about price. 9th, 10th round isn't a killer for a guy that should get a lot of work. But I think that's reasons for me personally that I'm gonna have like 8% James
Yeah.
Conner. Because of the injury stuff, because of the team stuff, that would keep me more off of him.
Yeah, that's always a fair point. Like, if you guys are risk averse to that kind of stuff, then I'm just like, go for it. Like, risk aversion is a thing. I mean, that's the reason I don't take Mike Williams. I'm just like, this guy is at pick 40 or earlier sometimes, and that guy doesn't survive seasons. Um, he literally misses every other game, and he's a great person in best ball though. Like, if you're talking about a best ball player, like Mike Williams is that guy. You don't play him in redraft because you never know if he's going to be good. But I don't draft him at all, and people love taking him pick 40 and stacking them and doing all sorts of stuff with them. I'm just like, I would rather just get Quinn Johnson and assume that he's going to get hurt. So it's a
Yeah, Mike
totally
Williams.
different.
He's
Yeah.
not my favorite pick either. I'll give you that one. I don't have much Mike Williams.
I just think the idea of we like I said, there's always blinders to a lot of teams. I remember I was joking about, we talked about this last week, where it's like, hey, you need to take Michael Thomas over like Rashad Bateman. I was like, when has Rashad Bateman finished seasons? Like, like the argument
See,
goes like,
I don't think that's like totally fair. I mean, we do it with Michael Thomas, yes.
but that's my point though.
Um,
If you can say that about Michael T, you can say that about Rashad Bateman, who just
but
jumped him.
to me, there's like age factors into that a lot. Personally, like, I mean, I get like, it's a good point. I like the comeback there.
I don't think the
But
age is that important. It's not like it'd be one thing if Michael Thomas was like 33. Like we've seen players at 32, 31, wide receivers kind of just play. Running backs, it's definitely been a thing. I do think I agree with running back that it used to be age 30. Now it's more like, oh, is this guy relevant? Oh, there's no receivers. All right.
you got buried by the avalanche in this one.
I have 7 guys. It's fine.
Yeah, guys.
I was hoping to get one more. I was hoping to get Rashid Sheed still, but he kind of went early. But I got Jeff. That's fine. So like I don't know. Like I just think that's funny. I mean, like I don't know what's the difference between Rashad Bateman's injuries that ended his season twice than it is Michael Thomas. There really isn't a difference besides the age. I can at least point to Michael Thomas and say he was relevant for 4 years.
It's been so long since he was good, though.
I mean, Bateman's never been good. So like let me just say like
he was good in the games he played last year.
No, he wasn't. Look at the stats. They are not good. He had like 2-ish games, and they were not like 7 reception games. And if the ones that he had high receptions, the yardage just weren't there.
Yeah, and he is more of a boomer bust guy. I'll give you that.
Yeah. So I think it was one of those things that like I'm just saying like we turn blinders on for certain narratives, but we don't do that for the guys that are in the same or earlier. And I think that's kind of interesting. Garage had a question. Let me pull it up really quick.
I love Everett. I'll go ahead and answer that for me. I'm taking Everett.
Everett. I love picking question. So I take 2 of those guys. I don't take a lot of Palmer because I do think QJ is kind of that guy, and I also think Palmer's a PPR guy. But I do take a lot of Everett. I do take a lot of QJ, and then that's about it. Like that's where I would be at if I had to take those guys. Well, yeah, go ahead and say your part, Ms. Hope.
I'm in on Everett. I think he fits a lot of 3 tight end builds. I think his price to me is depressed a little bit still because we expected the Chargers to sign someone at tight end, right? All the Schultz rumors were there. They were going to trade up in the first round for a tight end. Like everything was there, and then it didn't happen. Like I don't understand why he's 2 rounds cheaper than Tyler Higbee. And I like Tyler Higbee. I'm with you on that. Or Schultz. Like I think he should be going 2 rounds higher than he goes, if not more. And so I am super in on Everett. I haven't taken as much Palmer. I've mixed him a couple times, like taking stabs in like the 18th, 17th, 18th round, trying to get some correlation, which is what I like to do with my last picks. If I've got a Russ Wilson like Denver thing, and I'm trying to mix up my picks in the late rounds, I'll tack him onto those builds. But I haven't done it. I haven't taken a lot of him, but I think it's a fine bet. Like if you're really betting against Mike Will, and and Keenan, honestly, both of their healths, like I think it's a fine late stab.
Yeah, I mean that's why it's a little bit tougher. I always kind of crap on the team staff. I always wonder if they're like not too good. Like that's not the actual team, but the staff, because they always have something, and we don't really know if that's the case. But you look at someone like Mike Williams has survived, but he does play a specific role, right? He's a 50-50 ball guy, like just amazing when he's on the field. And I think I take a lot of GE because I think he can go on the field and do that. He doesn't really have competition at tight end right now besides Jalen Guyton, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. I don't know. Like I said, we'll see. I think the coaching change is huge, though.
Yeah.
I think the coaching change is a really nice pick for that because now I think they don't play Austin Eckler 14 receptions per game anymore. I think they actually go down the field, which I think helps out guys like Josh Palmer maybe or
Yeah, it
Keenan
does.
Allen. So we'll see. I'm just not sold, but I do think I do take QJ now, especially with like Sutton stacks for fun, or Jerry Judy, QJ, Russell Wilson. But I just I don't know. I am risk adverse at some parts too. Like I don't take a lot of Mike Dubs. I just really don't. I don't take a lot of charges in general, just because they kind of go early for what this game format asks you to play.
I know it's a lot about price for you on any of these.
It's always about price more than I do. I think they're good or not. I think a lot of these guys are amazing, but and I took like buttloads of Mike Dub last year, and he was going around 2-3. I was like, well, like I'm gonna play against his injury. I think he'll be fine, and then it just did not work out for me.
Have you seen a picture of Daniel Bellinger from camp?
No, but I do love Daniel Bellinger. I loved him so much last year. He was the guy for me. In redraft and in like resurrection.
I'm gonna send it to you on Twitter, and then I'll try and get it pulled up here. Um, the picture of him from camp that everyone's been talking about. Yeah, his revamped body. Let me make sure it's the same.
Does he have new eyes? Because that'd be hilarious. Because that dude got stabbed in the eyes. That's so
Sure
crazy to me.
There's no ads popping up.
Oh god, this build's super weird. All right.
This is Daniel Bellinger from camp.
Sheesh, dude's yoked. He looks like CMC when he got out of that 1 year. Oh my god. Dude, I hope he takes the job, man. I've been rooting for him. He was such a fun guy to have in like regular redraft and dynasty and stuff. Like he's just like that guy for me. The dude's freaking yoked.
It looks huge.
So I saw a few other comments. They're talking about incentivized. So I looked up the stats for Rashad Bateman just to make sure you guys remember what it was. New York Jets.
I looked them up as well.
2 receptions for 5 targets. 2 receptions on 5 targets, 59 yards, 1 touchdown. Against Miami, 7
usable
targets. Yeah, usable game. That's 12.9 points. Game 2, 7 targets, 4 receptions, 108 yards, 1 touchdown. Games 3, 4, 7, and 8, he got 6 points or less. And I can argue that, and I'll agree that some of those was battling injuries, but it was not 5 games of goodness. And he's also a low reception to his targets. He's actually one of the lower ones. I think he was like in the 58 zone or something really gross. Dude, I'm hoping you hit. I'm hoping all your Bellingers hit. I hope you win with them. I would love it. I'm all for him. If he doesn't get derailed that eye stab, he'd be fine. I'd be all over him this year. I also think Waller is good though.
He's a solid pick.
Yeah, I mean, Waller's just a good player. So I do think that we talk about a guy that might be dust like for injuries. That man just doesn't get on the field these days. But I do think like if he does, I pick 80, 90, that's worth a pop shot here and there.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, so Bateman's stats just don't really add up for me. I think his first year was like really intriguing. I took a lot of them in year 1 and year 2, but you're telling me that Mike T, who's his entire contract is incentivized by being good, crazy to me.
We are doing a second draft. I'll answer that. I'll answer this one too. Luckily, I already have Deontay Johnson, so I won't need to take either of those guys.
I took Allen Robinson once. And you just gave me so much crap about it. You were just giving me like the business about like my pick for him, and I'm like, he's not wrong. It's hard. I don't like Allen.
Even Robinson. If he's good, it's like too many people. Got your passers for the Steelers.
I'm just saying, man. MT on the field, OTAs, sign me up. I'm all for it. I got tagged in it, and I got it sent to you, like to me by you. I was just dying. I was like, I can't believe people are like kind of killing me for this.
Keenan and Michael, both their injury history. I think it's fair. I'm not as like, I'm a draft like you're right type person, not as worried on injuries all the time. But with those two guys, it's the history is there, especially hamstrings. Like
the blinders are just ridiculous. Like the blinders for it is absolutely insane to me for some of these guys. Like I said, like I don't care if someone told me they just take them. I'd be like, that's fine. I'm not gonna tell you like, why are you taking Mike Dubs? He gets injured so much, or like, why are you taking Keenan Allen? He missed so much season last year. Like I've never been the type to kind of like flip the script on somebody. But I mean, if you're gonna say it to me, I'll say it back. Like, well, hey guys, like I could argue that for a good chunk of the league on why these guys don't matter, and your people are taking them 50 to 40 picks ahead of my guy who is also quote unquote old. So on top of others. So like I said, we're just interesting blinders for a lot of those things. I hate round 18, by the way. Now that everyone's kind of gotten like better, I hate round 18 so much.
For me, the difference here is the price and like the position. If Waller is good and can make it through healthy, it can make such a big difference at tight end. Um, versus Mike Will in like the fourth round. That's a big reason. That's be the difference for me.
I think that's
That's
what it
the
is for me
price.
too. Um, I'm not a Waller guy at this point, just because of this is where it's at. I like the picks there more than like Waller, but if someone took him, I'd be like, yeah, you're fine, because let's say he is even 70% of what he was fantasy wise, you're getting like 9 to 15 points a week,
Yeah.
or like 9 points and random touchdowns. Like that's such a mismatch at the position in the game, and you're playing well against Travis Kelsey drafters. You're playing well against Hawk draft. So like, and I think that's why I was always talking about like why I like these later tight ends. If these later tight ends hit, you're playing against guys who took Andrews, Kelsey, or in the past George Kittle round 3, with round 9 to round 18 guys. Like how often, short of like the rookie wide receivers, um, can compete with JJ 70 picks, 80, 90 picks later? And the answer is probably never, right? Like last year, like was probably the best chance with Garrett Wilson. We don't have those. We don't have Garrett Wilson at pick 110.
That last pick always gets delayed out. Um,
Yeah.
while we're taking a break for a second to get over into the new draft, ask you guys if you're hanging out and you haven't subbed, would greatly appreciate it. It makes a huge difference for the channel and for us. It really means a lot. And we appreciate you guys who have done it, like, subscribe, all the things. We don't pump it as much as we probably should. But let's see here.
Hope's too
Let's
polite about it. So no, you are gonna you are gonna subscribe, and you're gonna send us to your goddamn friends, and
oh
you're
my god.
going to make them sign up with your code at least, not ours.
It's
All right.
ours. No, it goes to both.
I'm just kidding.
All right. Do we want to hop in our second
All
draft?
right.
See if we can time this out.
All right, we're gonna hop in. Let's
All
do
right.
this. One,
Go.
2, go.
Ooh,
Three more to go.
3 more, 2.
2,
Good. We got
1.
in.
101. 101. Come on, come on.
You just got the 102. You don't need the 101.
Oh, you got 103. Nice. 105. Dang, there we go. We got 5 red badges right off the bat. 6 in the 6, 7, 8 red badges. That's gross. I hate you guys. And I got Art. Art, buddy, I love you. You know I do. I was giving Art crap today because he took 3. He took Trevor Lawrence, Calvin Ridley, Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram was an odd number, and I was like, that correlation, man, that odd number correlation is not going to work for his even number team. So let's see. Just randomly, we are at 40 something percent right now of puppies. We're probably at 45 after this draft is over. I'm just kidding.
I'm headed for slow drafts. I already know.
How many puppies do you think we get this year? We had 4 puppies last year. How many puppies do we get this year? How many Pomps poodles? Chat, what do you guys think? Do you think we get to like 6 puppies this year? 7?
We could. I think it depends on what they want to release and what they still have kind of hidden in the bag that they haven't shown us yet.
Yes, that's fair. That's the most reasonable take. But I want pup numbers for hope. Like give me hope that I can get 7 puppies this year.
That would be fun. I would definitely not max 7 puppies. Got some people here in the overflow. Tarek thinks we get 5.
Okay. I think that's fair.
Yeah, Paul's going for 4, and then a bunch of the other stuff. It seems like that, right? Like we're gonna get 1 in May, 1 in June, 1 July, 1 August, and then they sprinkle in poodles and anything else that they have, in their mind. So.
Oh, sweet.
We've heard some teases for some, not that we've heard from like Underdog or anything, but we've heard some teases of some tournaments they might have planned we haven't seen yet, so that would be a lot of fun. Got some people, another overflow. Yeah, I would love to, like, if they released just a giant puppy.
We're at 150K in puppy 2. Usually it doubles up. It gets really gross.
Yeah, because they had, puppy 3 was the big one last year, and it was 200K to first.
Yeah.
With a pretty bad payout structure.
It was pretty bad.
I mean,
but it wasn't as bad as BBM. It's better than BBM still. We've made finals on both of those. I think we
Yeah,
had
we haven't had
two teams
any
each.
palms right either.
We haven't had a palm yet. I think palms didn't come up in like July to August. I think we'll start to see those really come up to get real casuals to kind of like get that taste in and then just juice them up. You gotta. So if you ever know like the history behind microtransactions, it's always like make them taste their first taste for something cheap and then just start jack up the prices and people are more likely to start spending. So you'll start to see palms in July to August, I think.
Oh,
Um,
sure. I mean, it's a business. They got to do what they got to do.
I mean, if Puppy 2 is at 150K, Puppy 5 has got to be what? 3? It has to be 3.
I
There'd be
think
no
so. I
way.
think we're gonna get a big puppy, like a really big one. It'd be fun.
It's got to be a huge. I don't know what the payout's probably going to be huge, but that means the finals would. That means all the playoffs got to be like 27 people or 35 people in there or something ridiculous number of guys in your quarterfinals.
I wish that they would only release. Maybe they did last year. I don't remember the palms on the weekends where I could actually max them. Last year, I mean, it was literally. I mean, they were done in hours.
I mean, you were messaging me at work. You're like, I have 25 going on right now. And I was like, I hadn't even started. Like, what the hell's going on? Palm
I
Superflex
just
was crazy too.
do what?
Palm Superflex, I think maxed out also like fast.
Yeah, I ended up. I got auto picked so many times trying to get the palms next because I mean, you didn't have time the way they were finishing.
Oh, we got TDK. Let's see.
Some different builds here. Pretty wide receiver heavy.
I don't know. I saw some running backs get taken. I was expecting like
Yeah, we
7
did
running
get an
backs.
RB start. Olave goes 19th.
Get my
Don't want to get buried.
No, not at all.
I might here because I don't. It
I mean, we
depends.
know this 2-3 turn for running backs is just amazing. Um, I think you're close enough to a pick that you could get a wide receiver. Chubb,
Yeah, jeez.
Pollard, everyone's RB1 apparently.
I'm
The
just
guy
taking
that might
Chubb.
have
I might get buried here.
the guy that might have Dalvin Cook on his team. If he gets Dalvin Cook on his team, you understand that like that's just like pure pain, right? Pure tears for everyone that take Pollard.
Yeah, it would be mega tears for me if
It'd
we
be his...
get Dalvin Cook on the Cowboys.
What would hurt more, Dalvin Cook to them, or to Brees Hall, or DeAndre Hopkins to Amari Cooper?
You talking about me personally? What would hurt? Like,
What would hurt you, and then just do you think what would hurt the fantasy community? Let's go two ways. We have a whole another 45 minutes of drafting. We got time.
The Pollard stuff would. I think that would hurt the fantasy community the most. I think me personally, Cooper. If
Yeah.
Hopkins signs with Cleveland, I ended up with a decent amount. Which is what's nice about BBM though is I was looking at my looking at my exposure for BBM because I was like, oh man, I've taken so much Cooper already. But if you look at it like 150, compared to where I'm at, it's 6 teams, right? Like if I quit now because he went there and it became a bad pick, which if he fell, I would still take him. But the ones I have, it's only 6 teams, so it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of Hall. I have some Pollard. I know I've capitulated a little bit and let people like talk me into Pollard. I would have loved Josh Allen. Do I have my Josh Allen here? You know what? No, I'm gonna get yelled at. Let's grab receivers. I'll grab somebody later. Um, but I know for a fact if Cooper gets Hopkins that I'm just dead because I have a lot of Cooper, way more than I should.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like I wouldn't change how I drafted Cooper. I do think he at his growing rate, knowing Hopkins was on the Cardinals or could have ended at any other random team.
Well, I mean, it seemed
He
like if
is
he
a
was going to
tier
go
break on his own.
anywhere, it was
Yeah.
Buffalo or Kansas City, right?
Apparently, yeah. That was that or the Texans all of a sudden or the Jets. I don't know. There was all sorts of talks. I still think the Jets was in
No, I'm
play.
talking about like the whole offseason when it
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
felt
yeah.
when it kind of felt like we knew Hopkins wasn't going to be in Arizona. It was Buffalo or it was KC. So you really didn't feel that worried taking Cooper, which you should have. I mean, obviously there was the Watson stuff, but they were just really
No,
weren't mentioned as much.
I like Terrence Carnes. I like Terrence's comment right there because this is
Mm-hmm.
actually really, really true. It could actually even help him. Cooper is a very strong natural too. He's been a 2 for against Rucker Capture. He's been a 2 against CD Lamb. He's always he's been in these positions before, so it maybe doesn't kill him as much as we think it does. You might just kill Elijah Moore and Njoku, and then it's a very fair take. There's a chance that
Yeah.
you get pick 50 Cooper, and I'll tell you right now, the minute that occurs, I'm gonna have him because is pick 50 Cooper worse than Godwin? You had 55, 56. Is he worse than JSN? Like I don't think so. With Deshaun Watson as your quarterback. So Terrence,
I think
good
that's a
stuff.
fair
Good call,
point.
man. I do like that because it's true. If you talk about history wise, he's been a two before. He's been with great wide receivers.
Yeah, as long as Watson rebounds, be fine. Let's see. So you started 3 straight wide receivers here. Calvin
Yeah,
Ridley, T. I like to start.
I passed out on Henry and Ramondre. Just had to mix it up a little bit. Um, I do regret it a little bit. I'm not gonna deny it. I regret it somewhat.
I think it's a fine start. It is definitely something you don't usually do.
I've done it in the past when I'm a little further down in the draft. Or I'll do it if I'm really early and I'm getting like really strong value on, you know, Chase, Olave, Higgins, and etc. Those guys coming around the corner, Devontae Smith. Like I'll definitely do it. I will punt the crap out of the running backs to grab those three. But it's because I have full confidence those guys will pay ADP.
It'd be crazy to say Hopkins could be the 2 with him climbing in age. I think they both help each other kind of in that same manner. Like whoever's the 1, who's the 2. Like I don't know. Who do you think would have more production in that scenario?
I
He
think
goes
it's
to
the one A
Cleveland.
one B for sure.
Yeah, I
I do
don't
think
think it's
Hopkins
that
gets
big
a
of a
little bit more
1-2.
productive. I want to say Hopkins has more production, but it's slight. It's not huge. Um,
The
because
familiarity with Watson could help there.
yeah, I think that Cooper might dominate the red zone a little bit better, just because he's probably gonna be quicker on the trigger. Maybe they scheme it more for him, but I think Hopkins could be that random PPR guy, and then like Cooper's like that 12 to 14 yard YPR kind of person because he does go over the middle of the routes really well.
That's totally fair.
And it would still be better than I'm sure everyone agrees with that. They would rather have that over Chris Godwin and with like Baker. Like I don't think anyone's sitting there like, well, if that happens, and I'm just fading Cooper. Like I don't think anyone's doing that. People faded Cooper
No.
last year, and he went to like pick 6, 7, round 6, 7. I remember you were telling me like, does this feel like he's too cheap? And I'm like, I think so, right? Like I think it's like he's like even with like Jacoby Brissett, who like as me watching him as a Dolphin was terrible, but like this wasn't the worst thing in the
No.
world because we saw Jacoby Brissett do well with like Devontae Parker.
Yeah, it's good. Metcalf Lockett kind of production.
Yeah, and
Makes
with wide
sense.
receiver avalanche style, that's 100% correct. I'm for that. All right, let's see your ad. You're
Updog
at
says
Cooper.
he got Cooper at 110 on DK in September. DK, man.
No, that's such a steal. That's ridiculous. People just really hated Brissett. Oof, you got DK Metcalf as as your wide receiver. How do you feel about Metcalf? He's definitely like as much as a guy I took a 50% last year or whatever. He's
He's
really overpriced.
overpriced. He is. But I just didn't want to fall too far behind in the wide receiver avalanche that we've had. And I have deviated twice, but he's definitely overpriced for the competition that's in that room. I will agree there. Um,
I was
where did you go
considering
here,
taking
Mixon?
Hawk here. I was really considering taking him, but
I
I'm
like the
taking
team
Mixon.
bet with T. I think that's fun.
I was just really staring at Hawk, and I'm like, I get that fun week 15, but I'm like, I do know these guys are gonna take it. Like, I'll just take a tight end later. I feel like tight end I can always kick around. It's fun to get him at value though.
I agree. Our friend in the 9 hole getting Mike Williams is their wide receiver 1. After we just destroyed him for half an hour on the show.
Apparently the 9 slot guy got something amazing, is what Phil said. Non-Badger, and the non-Badger person got the AJ Brown
Devonta and Hurts
and
all together.
overflow. Oh, in the overflow, I was like, what? I don't see that
No,
name. That's
not our
crazy.
9 hole.
People have been trying to pull that off. Everyone's like really sold on it. I had a lot of AJB, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts last year. Amazing. Even with Gardner, like it was just fun to have. Almost won one of my finals for me. Um, but sheesh, like I think forcing it right now is just tough. I love Devontae Smith, I really do, but I think like trying to make it happen if you're forcing AJB as a first 4 pick is just insane to me. I don't know if the stack is that strong enough to
I
do
don't
that.
know, man. I think it's an awesome stack to have because you've got that contingency in the playoffs of one going off and one not, getting you through to the next week. Plus, that offense is going to score so many points. I am not worried about that combination. Like, I mean, it's a lot of investment early in one offense. So there's a chance, your team could just die out if they don't um, do good in the playoffs or something. But I think it's a fun combo to get. I haven't gotten it yet. I'm still have, a lot of like the single stacks. Um, but yeah, I think it's totally fine. And like I said, yeah, the Eagles have like the best playoff schedule ever. As Updog was saying, I remember when I did my playoff schedule rankings, they were number one for me as far as having the easiest playoff schedule.
So, like I said, I think the move is fine, but when we talk about like, I get it. Like everyone wants to correlate their picks, and that makes a ton of sense. But if you're talking about like straight up as a vacuum pick, we already kind of know that a lot of the RBs and that 2-3 turn are already much better as a pick overall than Devontae Smith. On average, I'm probably one of the few people that just will dodge them completely just to grab Devontae with my JJs, with my Jamar Chase. But if that's the difference for people, it's like to get the stack on a team that I would say are arguably can't do what they like can't do it. I just don't think they can do what they did again last year as easily, and to outproduce guys like T Higgins. Like I don't know, it just feels like a little bit weak for me. Like I don't think AJ Brown is good enough to beat those guys on a weekly basis, like Cooper Cup and etc.
I'm going down to Dotson on this pick. Actually, I like Dotson a lot.
Dotson's been rising up the boards. He used to be a pick 80, 90 guy. Now he's like 76 or something crazy now. He's getting a lot of juice.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not as worried about that stack as you are. So we going Komet or Tanyan in the 18th round. I wish you could Komet in the 18th round. That would be nice. Let's see here. Ooh, Tony 5 picks past ADP. I would rather not. Let's take Gabe.
I've been seeing a lot of Tanyan talk lately. That's hilarious. I've been seeing a lot more. I don't get it. Do people really hate Komet that much? Do people think he's just that bad?
I think people are just worried that A, he's not that good, and B, Tanyan is like fine. Like he's gonna be out there stealing some routes, and if where Komet goes, like if he's getting 20%, 30% of his routes taken on a low pass volume offense, I think that there's some concerns there. What is up, Davey? This actually will be the last draft. This is our second one of the night. Let's see. Get your Trevor. Your team's looking good. I like it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Trevor slips lately, and I'm just grabbing them. I think I was listening to like Pete's show earlier this morning. Just like we're talking about like how he's just dropping, and the chat and the rest of us were just kind of like, you understand, like he made do with like Christian Kirk and Zay Jones and like Evan Ingram, right? Yeah. 3 guys that nobody liked on their respective teams, all came from different teams, came in, and they all worked, and they all were fantasy relevant beyond means. So I like Trevor. I think Trevor's super good.
Trevor's awesome.
I know everyone's looking to Caleb Williams in the future and et cetera, but like, people forget how good Trevor is, and I think he gets buried a lot because of his bad rookie year. Like again, his rookie year sucks, but not every rookie like Justin Herbert gets Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, and like all these guys. Sometimes you get Laquan Treadwell and like some really bad coaching. So I think Trevor has just been lights out for what he's done. I think he's just gonna crush it even further. At pick 80, I'll be taking him every single time. He's basically Deshaun Watson to me at this point. I'm hoping that he gets to that range, and we might see it. We might.
Yeah, I mean they went the same round in this draft.
I want to see it all day.
Yeah, no, that's another thing I wanted to touch on. We've seen the elite QBs are starting to fall. Like it's happening, right? Like I think it was predicted a lot by a lot of people. Like they're eventually going to fall. These prices are unsustainable. Like when the more casual players come in, and I think we're seeing it. I think we're going to end up with all of them in the 3rd round when the contest closes, when BBM closes.
Still too expensive. I get it. Josh Allen, etc. Like I tab a few Josh Allen teams and whatever because sometimes the build just works for you. But I think like Joe Burrow is the biggest fall, right? He's talking like pick 49, pick 60 sometimes. Dude,
yeah, I've seen
amazing.
him around in the 60s. Yeah,
he's like 90% of a like Patrick Mahomes, you're getting them 3 to 4 rounds later. Like I don't even understand like what the argument is at that point. So like Joe is just amazing, someone to grab that I think that costs virtually way less. That'd be like arguing if you could take Travis Kelsey at round 1, but Mark Andrews around 6. How many guys would say they would still take Kelsey?
Right. No, I agree. Like it's the prices on that mid tier. If they come down even more, I'm gonna have so much of the Herbert, Fields, Burrow, Lawrence tier.
You guys are just setting me up for this. Seriously. Like 92 James Conner, you just let me have like come on, guys.
We are letting you have him. Like that's
Yeah, you're letting me have him. That's fine.
he's yours.
But Michael Thomas went earlier this time, so I had no shot at Michael Thomas. Over under 3 total Michael Thomases and James Conner. I hit it over 2.5.
Congratulations, I guess.
Hey man, all
Man, I don't ever take this guy, but I have no shares of him. I'll take Rashad White 10 picks past ADP.
He's getting crushed right now. That man has fallen like 16 picks.
I mean, that's my first share of him in the puppy too. I'll tack him on. Don't
People
love
forget
that.
he used to be in the late 60s, early 70s. He's like 85 now. I don't know. I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could take Rashad White. I used him in Madden.
It's not a fun click.
Is
that your market? Your market.
I've been waiting like all off season to say that because everyone always asks how do I feel about him. I'm always like I used him in Madden. He sucks ass. Like, that's like.
I did the other on that last one. We're gonna grab Dylan here. So it might be an overspend at running back a little bit with our Chubb investment, but I don't want any of the receivers. And I didn't need the quarterbacks. It's a tough spot there in the draft and not need a quarterback. I could have done Njoku or Freiermuth. But I pick him so much. Let's see here. Tyler Boyd.
Yeah,
I like it.
Down Boyd. I was thinking, go give me him and
continuing
Lazard.
your Cincinnati bet.
Yeah, I was looking at Lazard there, but I just don't want it right now. I didn't have a stacking partner, which normally I don't really care about too much. But I think like having Higgins is just like if Higgins happens to go down, I get a free good T Higgins, a good like Tyler Boyd game.
I mean, it's just a bet on an offense, right? Like if the Bengals crush, you've got 3 of their pieces, like totally fine.
Yeah, and I like my running backs enough, right? Like I actually like to live in this weird like mid-anchor dead zone build where you get like mixing Dobbins into a bunch of randos is like really fun for me. Which I was
nice because like those guys are the dead zone running backs, but they used to be 3rd and 4th round picks.
I mean,
and now we're
round 1 guy.
Well, I know, but I'm not talking about like actually. I'm just talking about the tier, like their style of running back, where there's questions about the volume and how good their talent actually is. Yeah. But now you can get them 6th, 7th round. Like the click, it's so much easier to click them, especially when you've started.
Those guys especially. I mean,
those guys like in 5 years ago would have been 3rd round, 4th round picks. Starting running backs on teams, like
that's 100% fair. I didn't think about it like that, but that's a good point because I mean the dead zone is just 4 or 5 rounds down. It's actually really crazy. I was trying with the RB chasm, the wide receiver avalanche versus the RB chasm today. It's been like. I watched like I was in a draft where like 6 or 7 RBs were just stacked on top of each other, and I'm just like looking at like, it's just weird. It's like it felt really sad watching like all those guys piled up on each other because nobody wanted them.
Okay, he's been picking right in between us. He started heavy 0 RB here, got Hurts to go with his Devonta, and then it's got the Cook brothers here.
I think it's solid. I mean, Dalvin Cook at 93. Well, I mean, at that point it's just fine, right? I take him at 70 to 80 sometimes, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think it's a good value on him.
In order not to draft him, you're just basically I don't think he plays.
I think like the way you started, you've got 6 receivers in your first 7 picks. Those 2 type of picks like are totally fine. Yeah, to get Dalvin at 93, I'm not excited about him. I don't think too many people are with his situation being so uncertain, and even wherever he goes, he's probably going to be splitting. But in like a 0 RB build like this with him in the 8th, he's gonna play.
Oh man, I was hoping to grab Mingo, but Mingo's gone already. I wanted to get that little fun stack of the correlation. That's fine.
He's gone?
Yeah, I think he's gone. We'll see him. Am I blind? Oh, I am blind. I want to get him. That's fine.
You could
I
flip
actually
him
I
in
forfeit a
mid.
lot of Zay Jones for Mingo for my Calvin Ridley's. I know most people would be
Let's.
rather grab Ridley Zay with their Lawrences. I like to grab Lawrence Zay into
I'm just gonna
Mingo.
wrap up QB here with Gino with Metcalf and be done. Be done there.
Like Consigliere says, Rashad White could be the guy you need. Second year breakout, 90% snap. I mean, like, I don't hate Rashad White. That was just more of a joke. I do think he's getting like just flooded. He's just and I push a lot of the bad teams. I'm all about taking bad team players because to an extent,
They're
right? I
always
think it's recorded.
discounted.
They're just they're discounted more than the good player teams that may not produce as much.
Well, and it makes sense of why that's the case, though.
Oh, once again, it does that because right, which team scores the most touchdowns? That is very true, right? I've never seen a losing team score like get a lot of points. Like, look at this team that just like really sucks, but outkick their coverage on touchdowns. It just doesn't occur.
Mm, you know what?
Besides maybe the Titans. Once again, the Titans are probably one of the few teams I could think of that just like had a lot of TDs that people weren't expecting.
I don't love this spot. You know what? I'm gonna just keep doing Chig. You guys have talked me into some Chig tonight. We're taking him on both teams.
If I grab Lazard,
I need to
I
add
got
more
a
of him.
lot
I do like him. I think I'm just kind of worried about that offense in general. But we're getting him in the 11th round, and he's a fun player. He's the kind of upside you want at tight end too, though. The guy, like, because tight end's so bad. If he can, I mean, he can make your week on one play. Not many tight ends can do that, right? Most tight ends are the compiler types who need to get there because they had 5 or 6 catches for 50 yards. Versus a guy who can actually make a big play. It could make a huge difference.
No, that makes sense. I mean, it's just a second option too. I mean, I don't know if that's hard. Like, I don't know many tight ends that are second options of their team. Right? Like Higbee was one of the guys I used to joke about. Like he was an option 2 for his team, but there's not many option 2 tight ends that go late. With Tannehill, like Tannehill's not a bad quarterback. He really isn't. I love Tannehill. I think he's been more than serviceable, and he's outkicked his coverage of as a player.
Yeah.
So I don't see why not. I'm not taking a ton of Chig, not because I just don't want to. It's just sometimes it just doesn't end up with me. Like in this case, I didn't have a shot at him. I had Pat F already. Yeah, so I don't think why people are hating on Chig. People just have flavor of the weeks who they want to hit on. Like if you ever noticed throughout Twitter, it's like today's hate this guy day. I think Chig had one like last week. It was like hate Chig day, and it's just I don't know what he did to somebody.
Yeah, no, Chig is pretty divisive because there are some smart people who are very not into Chig, and then you got some that are, and so it's gonna be an interesting year to see how he does. I have a lot of Kendre Miller as well. Getting a lot of really good buzz right now.
What his knee injury?
Kendre Miller.
Kendre Miller's knee injury. He's a great buzz. I'm kidding. I actually don't take a lot of them, but not because I don't want to. I think at 120 we're asking for a lot because he goes so close. It's like they go on top of each other. You're talking about 100, 120, and like what 127 for Jamal Williams. That is ridiculous. That is absolutely painful to take, and you're really just betting on somebody. I think taking Kendre is fine. I think taking Kendre to come like Jamal Williams is fine. I can't take Kamara though. I'm having the hardest time even thinking about it. Like, I'd rather not. I'd rather not. I really do.
I've taken him on DK. I'll take Kamara on DK for sure.
I think the worst part about this Trevor Lawrence pick. Oh, you guys are freaking. Come on, man. Why would you do that? Who took my naked car? Oh, there's Andrew.
It's Andrew.
I know.
He is wild,
I think I just hate this because I can't take Russ here. I do think the bye weeks matter for this one. I don't even have the players for it. I was hoping to have at least a Judy or something. I usually have one by now, but they're both gone.
It's a pretty balanced team for me so far. I am just gonna do Komet with Justin Fields. Make him my last bear.
I think Komet gets a lot of hate. I think he was fine. I think people just are more sad that they got set up for failure last year. Like he was, oh man, like he was this, the fantasy darling, and he just didn't push out like people thought he would. But they also didn't throw the ball last year either. I don't know how many pass attempts did Justin Field really have, and let alone good pass attempts.
No, not many. What was he averaging like per game? Wasn't it like
I,
20
I think there
less?
was like, yeah, I think way less. I think he was like 12 or 15. There was a game where it wasn't even snowing like it was with Mac Jones, and they threw less than that game. Like it was like I don't know, it was really bad. Justin Fields just I just think it's interesting. I think Justin Fields will pass a lot more, and I think Kokomet not being the option 2 on this team is going to be very helpful. It even got to the point where he was option 1. Think about it. Darnell Mooney was out. He was option 1 at one point.
Let's see. I do not want these guys. Yeah, I'm just gonna take Tank. I like Tank's upside.
I'll call it. I'll say that Justin Fields, not just. I say that Kokomet beats his is gonna beat his ADP. I'm pretty sure of it. Honestly, that's why I take so much of him.
I would
So
not make that bet, but
he's at 140. Like he would have to be absolutely terrible. Okay, screw it. I'm just gonna take the 0 on that bye week. Um, he completed no times. So Justin Fields completed 20 pass attempts one time. So completed. Every other game he completed 17 or less, with the most of them at 15 or less.
yeah, it's
With
tough.
4 games at 8 or less. So I mean, just wasn't a good year. I don't know. Like what's it, if you're casting if you're a quarterback that only completes 8 passes 4 times, that's pretty terrible.
Mooney's tough for me. I've taken him a bit. If I don't take DJ Moore and I end up with Fields, I'll throw him onto a stack. But he's not someone I'm targeting outside of a field stack personally. I don't. He's just not my favorite type of guy. They brought in some more competition too in the draft, Tyler Scott. So I'm not getting to him much outside of field stacks.
I like Mooney at his ADP. I just hate where he goes. Like there's just
Wait,
like Damien Harris
that
is there, Rashad
contradicts.
Penny.
Oh, you.
No, no,
Oh,
but
yeah.
like
I
there's
got you.
just
The other players
yeah.
around him, like his
The other
ADP's
players around him are
fine.
just like way more useful to me. Like by then I already have 5 receivers, so I'm not trying to attack my 6th or 7th. And I'm not trying to tack on a I wouldn't say Darnell Mooney is like really a PPR guy, but he's like in that range where he's like his
Yeah.
upside isn't the most amazing, but so he kind of like doesn't fit me half the time there. So I end up on Damien Harris, or I end up on like a falling tight end. But I do think if you're someone that is trying to push out your receiver, so if you go 3 early and you're looking for your 4th, 5th, I don't think Mooney's actually terrible. Mooney's a
No.
really, really talented player, and you just have to bet that Justin Fields is going to pass more. And Mooney works way better as a 2 than a 1. It just kind of sucks that he's had to be the 1 the last 2 years. His prototype just
So
isn't built to be a 1.
yeah, Mooney's all the way down here. In this range, I'm taking personally a lot of Alec Pierce. I'm taking these tight end Jalen Warren, of course, Singletary. So I just don't get to him. I feel like MVS I like more, and Ben Jeff. I mean Mims high. Like I get to all these guys just more than him. And so if I don't have the field stack, I'm just not trying to go out of my way to get bit the Bears passing offense personally. It's kind
No,
of how I look at it.
and I think that's the best way. Damn, Jordan Ford just really jumped up. Holy crap. I think exactly where it's at. It's just I just not. I'm already at 5 receivers by then, or 6 sometimes. So just Mooney just doesn't fall well for me. That's all it is. I do think he's a good pick. I almost took Tyler Thornton. I almost did it. I was considering it. I was like, I need a 4th running back. My running backs are pretty weak.
You already sniped me on Pat F.
He fell. You should have taken
No,
him.
he's a good pick. He's a good pick.
Same thing, Art. You got mad at Russell Wilson. You should have just taken him. I don't know why he's falling back to me. I have no reason to take him at that point. I was just like, screw it. He's the last quarterback
you
here.
didn't have a stack, so I think that's why he pushed him. But yeah, that's fair.
He's just
He's the last of the tier for both of us. Jeez, this is a gross spot.
No, it's not. There's an awesome guy right there, Kyler Murray. Don't you love Kyler Murray? He runs. He runs so well.
I'm doing a 3 tight end build. I think.
I was gonna grab Knox. I hate you. I was like,
213.
Why would you do that? Great. I don't want to be here anymore.
He smashed the over on this one.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say, what's up, pal? I was watching you on my TV last night. Actually, I was like, sweet, because you had Nick on. Yes, we smashed it. I'm at 3. I didn't get 4 like I thought I could have, but it is what it is.
I think that's fair.
Screw it. Let's bet on that tight end.
Laporta?
Yeah.
He's a fun pick. Like, because, I mean, there's a chance, even though it's a rookie tight end and we worry about their production, with his profile, he could also be running a lot out of the slot, and his price is a lot more appropriate and be the only, he's kind of like the only tight end in that room. I know Brock Wright still there, but as far as um,
He's
that
still
type of
there.
upside,
That's so sad if like these guys ever heard us talk
he
about how
exists.
he exists.
Yeah, 18th round Taekwon was so nice. I'm still trying to get him because this is a closed contest anyway. But BBM is going to be tougher, especially. I think he's going to push up to this like 140 range with like these guys, Van Jeff, MVS, 140, 150. He's already almost there at 165, so I think he's heading on up the board.
Man, I've noticed that Chase Brown's been really falling lately. People were pushing him at 140 at one point. What happened? He's at 179 and falling even further.
Yeah, I just think the Mixon stuff being more, finalized that he's going to be on the team and not suspended. It seems like so. I think that's pushed him back down.
So if P Ryan was still on this team and it wasn't Chase Brown and the same situation was going on, do you think P Ryan would be at 180? Do you think, or you think he'd be higher?
So, are we allowed to know the context of how good he looked last year when Mixon was
Yes.
out?
So if we're talking about, we saw what he did last year. He's coming into this season. P Ryan's still there. There's no Chase Brown.
I think he'd be going about where Jamal Williams, in between Jamal Williams, Jalen Warren range, 135. I think he'd be about that range. Maybe 125.
And I think that's kind of insane because I think that's like fair. I think that's very possible because people do that with Madison last year and etc. But so like, why is Chase Brown at like 180? He is basically the direct handcuff, right? Like,
Well, see, the thing is though, it's that backfield is we don't know. Like, there's Travion Williams stuff. There's Chris Evans still there.
Chris Evans, yeah.
Chris Evans, I know.
We're not falling for that again.
No, we're not. But the Travion stuff, is he the new Chris Evans of this year? Like, there seems to be a little bit of, confusion and uncertainty of who's going to be that RB2. So I think that's kind of why that he's slipping.
It just seems so weird to me. Like, it's just, I can't take him for this team. I guess I could. I could just take him and just have a mix in like Chase Brown team. But I just think it's super interesting that like he is just so far away. And I think your call is correct. I think PR would be a 130, 140 guy right now if he was still a Bengal, right? Like everyone's gonna point to last year and say, like, well, look, see, like he did it already if cases happens. But they did draft the guy. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of funny. I just think it's interesting. He went from like 150 to like 180 almost immediately. And it's only June 6th. Let's see.
Who are you looking at here? What is your team?
Gotta get my Gus Bus. His red negative bubble. It's fine though. Art the Batman.
What do I want to do with this team? I feel like I need kind of like a stability pick for my wide receivers.
Fields has been very interesting, actually, though. I've been watching him kind of slip these days.
Yeah, you can see here I got him 7 picks past ADP.
So it's really weird when it comes to guys like Fields because his games were so inconsistently good. Is he a upper 2 QB build? Like you have him with Geno, or is he probably even a good 3 QB build? Let's say Fields or Ritter, Stafford or Carr, Ritter.
I'm just gonna take Slayton, I think. Do what? So 3 versus 2 QB builds with him.
No, I think you took him you took him with Geno, which is like perfect sense. So do you think he's a better upper 2 or maybe a lower 3, like Fields into Derek Carr, Ritter? Because obviously we know Fields' games aren't going to be consistent. I don't think if anyone tells me that they think his guy's averaging consistently good games, I want you to show me your projections. There's no way heck I'm expecting that.
I think he's fine either one. It's just all about what you spend on that second quarterback, right? Like where I spent on Geno in the 10th round. Yeah, if you don't spend there, like it's.
But would you be cool taking him with like another rando, like a bad rando? Like let's say Jordan Love, where we don't know anything, and you're like, "That's my 2 quarterback build." Like Justin Fields, like Jordan Love, or Justin Fields, Ritter.
Do suck right now.
I think that would be very terrible to think about, like having to do.
I don't think he's going to sign on the Chiefs. I'm taking him.
Oh my god, you've been taking so much of him. I can't even. I can't even talk trash.
It's a free pick.
It's a free pick.
I just needed a running back here, and I'm gonna bet he signs on a good team to be their pass catching back. Because it is fair. Humble mentioning my running back's a little weak. I think that's fair. I got the Chubb anchor, who's going to be the RB1 this year overall in fantasy. So I feel good about locking that up. But no, it's a slightly weaker room.
I don't even know what to grab. I hate these
Mac
number 2
Hollins.
picks.
You've been on the Mac Hollins thing late. Explain that one more to me. I was in on him in big board when it was 20 rounds. I thought, kind of like in the Zay Jones mold of like, chase the guy that got paid. But now these kind of get 17th, 18th round. Like I'm not as in on him as some of these other guys, but I guess the bet's still the same, right? He's gonna be a wide receiver too.
He's a wide receiver too. Arthur Smith has made wide receiver twos pretty useful at times. It's random, but it has occurred. I also think Mac Hollins is better than we give him credit for. Mac Hollins was on the Dolphins for like a long time. The Dolphins just we've seen this. Like so when Mac Hollins left the team, same thing as for Rashard Matthews. I was like, I bet you Mac Hollins becomes the next Rashard Matthews. Like I was just calling it because like he was always really good for us, but we just never liked him. We as the general managers and stuff just didn't like Mac Hollins or the coaching staff. And the minute he left, he just put up, and pretty good, not amazing, but he put up pretty well. So now you're talking about a guy that's going to be a basically a depleted wide receiver room because those wide receivers are absolutely terrible. And that isn't Kyle Pitts, that isn't Drake London, and you have Arthur Smith, who's had usability for these middle to deep shot guys like Corey Davis. Mac Hollins that's what he is. He's a 6'4", over the middle kind of guy, not a streaker. And I think if you're doing a lot of play action, which gets you kind of open for those guys, I think Mac Hollins scores. And at pick 17, 18, when everybody's already taking the good players, I would say they already kind of went up already. I don't have a choice. It's just kind of like it's him, Corey Davis, who I love Corey Davis, and I was pounding pretty hard, but I'm still worried about his contract to an extent, and then I'm also just a little bit worried that Corey Davis just doesn't survive a season. Like he just doesn't. He hasn't survived one since he left the Titans. So I think Mac Hollins makes it through, gives me 2 games, and I picked 17, 18. I'll just suck it up, right? Like I'm not expecting too much. And he's not a PPR guy. He's not a guy that's catching like 7 5-yard passes. He's just over the middle. His YPR for most of his career.
I'm about to make a disgusting pick. I'm going to end my draft with Leonard Fournette, Cordell Patterson. The consigliere got it, said it. I get the little week 17 going. It's a gross pick, but I actually think he's going to play more than a lot of people do. But yeah, I've been tacking on some CPAT in the 18th round. Stacking.
I do agree with Paul though. Like I do like Corey Davis. I just want to see a little bit later that he's like still on this team. I do think he's amazing. He was so good in camp last year. He was just schooling people, and he was even good last year with like Flacco and Wilson. But if that guy can like play more than 4 games, I'd be happy. I guess that 4 solid games though is basically what I'm betting for him or Mac Hollins. It's just I want him to be good at week 17. I want him to be good past week 5. Can he make it past week 5? If so, then yes, I'm in for Corey D. I like Corey D.
We got some CPAT love.
I also need to see DeAndre Hopkins go somewhere first. I don't want him to end up on like the Jets all of a sudden.
All right, that was a fun show. Don't think we can run one more. We did 2 this time. We don't usually do that. This is a fun draft. I like kind of getting a couple different perspectives, a couple different builds, and talking through what we like about them.
And to top it off, we over-undered 2.5 Michael Thomas and James Conner. I think that's what people showed up to see. They were just like, how many James Conner over-unders? If anyone took a bet against me going to under 2.5, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, they couldn't. I mean, the odds were like minus 10,000, so no one made any money on that
3
bet.
out of 4 wasn't that bad.
But no,
I didn't take them at ADP either. Some of those guys came back to me later. All right, it just turned out there. Some of those guys came back to me after ADP. It's on you. You all had a chance to ruin it.
No, but thank you all for hanging out. Appreciate it. Like you said, like, subscribe, use promo code HOPE on Underdog if you're not signed up already. But yeah, we'll be back Thursday. Check us out. Anything you got left, Davis?
No, other than that, draft correlation's overrated. I'm just kidding. Sign us off. I'm kidding.